What's up, Subjectivists? It's Jack and Claire here, and we are back with a little break from all the recent Pokemon content. Today's video is actually something a couple of you have been requesting. We are going to talk about style. We've actually talked about style on this channel before, in a video I'll link in the description. However, that video ended up being more about how an art style should support the artist's content, and didn't really go into detail about how to cultivate style in the first place. So today, we're going to talk about actually finding your style and how to not get stuck on this intimidating step of your artistic journey. Actually, I shouldn't call it finding your style. That's a little misleading. Developing your voice as an artist is a very gradual process, and you won't just wake up one day magically equipped with a strong personal voice and new artistic perspective. For many of us, our artistic journeys began as kids, and as kids will do as they learn more about the world around them, we just copied everything we thought was cool. We looked at anime, comics, even sparkle dogs on DeviantArt, and found inspiration. Then, consciously or not, we whipped up our own sloppy imitations of popular media. There's a reason so many young artists have OCs that just happen to be Sasuke's girlfriend or Sonic the Hedgehog's long-lost brother. Don't hate on these kids. They're still figuring things out, and at least they're trying. Eventually, we all outgrow this phase, but the basic idea of borrowing from artists and media that you admire is actually a really important skill to have, even as a professional. Now, there's a big difference between borrowing and stealing. Tracing something and calling it your own won't help you grow. It won't help you understand the process of art making or creating concepts. But copying an artwork privately, starting with a sketch and building up to the final piece by trying to understand and mimic the techniques a master artist used, is actually a great tool for learning. In school, this is called creating a master copy and is a practice that goes back to the Roman Empire. When you picture the creation of a master copy, you might imagine a bunch of crusty, bearded dudes standing around, meticulously recreating a painting of a nude lady apathetically emerging from an oyster. However, a master copy doesn't have to be a copy of classical, realistic art. Though occasional figure drawing and life drawing is important to make sure your work remains informed by reality, copying any skilled artist you look up to is an equally valid way to learn. But even with all this said, you still don't need to create weekly master copies to grow as an artist. Making a master copy is more of an exercise, and a very time-consuming one at that. What most artists do is regularly practice a microcosmic version of the master copy process. We borrow little bits and pieces of cool aesthetic elements and techniques we see other artists use and incorporate them gradually into our own art-making workflow. There's a lot of trial and error involved, but that's the only way to learn. Actually, this whole stylistic evolution affair isn't even always a conscious effort. Often, it just happens. I think a big misconception about having a style is that it's a static, immutable thing. You work toward creating a consistent style, and then that's it. You've got it, stylistic exploration, done. But in reality, this just isn't the case. This process of small-scale, constant borrowing looks a bit different for every artist. Jack and I work very differently, and we borrow in different ways too. Personally, when I find an artist I really like and want to emulate, I look very carefully at how they select colors and how their brushstrokes build up forms, and then try to mimic these techniques within my existing workflow. Sometimes I'm looking at multiple artists at once, and the result is a very gradual change in my style over time. These little experiments don't always work out for me, but I do always learn something new.
And the same goes for me. As someone who draws nearly every day for an average about 5 to 8 hours each day, I'm constantly thinking about how I'm rendering my work, what I like about what I did, and what I wish I could do differently. I'm sure we can all relate to the feeling of looking at another artist's work and thinking, damn, I wish I could do that. I do that every day, and while in the moment that emotion can feel frustrating and deflating, it's actually the first step towards improving my portfolio of skill sets as an illustrator. Usually, my process for style design goes something like this. I get stuck in a rut drawing the same thing the same way over and over and over again, usually with things like my Pokemon armor commissions or the monthly drawing challenges. By my final piece, I feel frustrated with how they look, and I feel like I've wasted my time. Then I see another artist's work and come to the realization that, yes, this is what I want my art to look like, forever. There's nothing better than what I see in front of me right now. I study their work and try to replicate their techniques in my own pieces, then slowly realize the futility in perfectly replicating a completely different human being's process of design in just one piece. So instead, I just take a few pointers from what they're doing, like how they handle light and value, or maybe the brushes that they use, and apply those tricks to my art. At this point, I'll have made something that looks very different from what I'd been doing before, and I'll either love it and share it to Instagram with something in the description like, trying out a new style, I don't know how I feel about it yet, lol. Or I'll hate it, hide it in a folder in Procreate, and never look at it again. But either way, I'll have learned something new, something crucial to informing my skills as an artist in every piece that I do from that point forward, even if I don't realize it. And when I return back to what I like to call my comfort zone of drawing, I'll have a few new tricks to push my work to the next level. I'll describe with a little bit more detail what I mean about my comfort zone. I think when most artists refer to their style, they're really talking about the technique or media that they're most comfortable working with. Usually it's the way that they've been making art for the longest. Like in my case, my favorite method of rendering is based around intricate line work, because my medium of choice since I was 8 years old was a nice sharp pencil. Everyone has their comfort zone, be it watercolor flowers, pen and ink concentric circles, ZBrush 3D modeling, or digital drawings of dog people. Feel free to return to your comfort zone anytime you start to feel frustrated with your journeys out into the unknown. But remember, nothing will change or improve if you continue to draw the same things the same way forever.
Even big artists with very iconic art styles have changed over the years. As media trends shift, art technology advances, and they grow more skillful. A great example of this kind of growth is an artist I'm sure many of you are already familiar with, Ken Sugimori. His art style is nearly synonymous with Pokemon, but look at how even his iconic art style has evolved between 1995 and today. Now that we've established that art style is something to nurture over time, I want to talk about a pitfall I see a lot of inexperienced artists fall into. I see it all too often in our comments section, on social media, and even in our Discord. Artists who are waiting until they have found their style before they start projects. This is such an easy trap to fall into, especially because I think many artists struggle with confidence while they're looking for their artistic voice. However, as we've already mentioned, your style will come naturally over time, and actually, one of the best ways to accelerate this process is by completing projects and literally just making lots of art. If you're struggling with these feelings of uncertainty, I totally recommend trying out a month-long challenge like our Smogist or Apoctober. Even if you don't complete all the prompts, or even half the prompts, producing a large volume of art within a relatively short time frame really forces you to not overthink or second-guess your rendering. Also, you can directly compare your concepts against hundreds of other artists' interpretations of the same prompts, which is a great way to discover new styles, methods, or mediums that you'd like to incorporate into your own work. At the end of the month, you'll also have a whole collection of art to show for your efforts, which is a really satisfying feeling and great for a little confidence boost too.
Take my last Smogist, for example. I wasn't happy with maybe 80% of the work that I made for that month, but I learned a lot about my limits as an artist and what I should expect of myself if I attempt to create that much art in such little time. And in the end, the last two pieces I created were some of my favorite work that I had made in months.
I also definitely recommend finding a community of like-minded artists you can bounce ideas off of as you grow. Getting meaningful feedback helps to pinpoint what's working and what isn't with each new piece, which can be hard to figure out by yourself, especially since art making is so personal and labor-intensive. Having access to reliable, regular critique sessions from an outside perspective is really one of the best ways to improve your work, and if you don't already have a group of people you can do critiques with, definitely consider checking out our Discord or joining other online artist communities. Basically, all of this is to say that the pressure is off. You don't need to concern yourself with finding a style, perfecting your style, or balancing stylistic development with the rest of your artistic growth. It'll happen naturally, and you don't need to wait up until you feel like you're ready. Start a comic, a Fakemon region, a monthly challenge, whatever. Your next project doesn't need to be your magnum opus passion project. Sometimes it's better just to get something done and take what you learn on to the next thing. Anyway guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Please don't hesitate to drop any questions you may have in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep drawing!